Nadine Hanafi, welcome to the WorkPlay podcast.
Thank you, Lyric, for having me. I'm happy to be here.
I am so excited for today's episode because we're going to dig really deep into how WorkPlay members can actually optimize, utilize their visuals for revenue. And I know that we always talk about that on this podcast, but I love how you do it because it's so tangible.
Yes.
And we're going to dive all things into brand kits, how we can actually launch these visuals. It's going to be such a treat for our WorkPlay members. But first, I would love for you to introduce who you are, your business, and how long you've been in business.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Nadine Hanafi. I'm the founder of Digital Brand Kit, which is, as we like to say and claim, the world's first full stack branding system made just for personal brands. So, what does that mean? It means that we create customizable templates, branding templates for personal brands. And by that, we are talking about coaches, consultants, professional speakers, service providers, really anybody who has any sort of online presence, which is pretty much everyone nowadays. But if you are the face of your business in any form or capacity, you are a personal brand and you are going to need a ton of visual assets to represent your brand online. And so we give you all of those assets. And what is different and special about Digital Brand Kit is that we have built these templates in these 14 kits that cover all of the different touch points of your business. And so these are fully customizable templates with different design styles and things like that. And our goal is to make branding super easy and affordable and accessible for everybody on any budget so that you can have that big brand energy on a small budget.
I love it. And that's why I love you because like the two companies pair so well together that I'm like it's a no-brainer that
You
the
know,
values align and the way that WorkPlay members are going to be able to literally plug and play
mhm.
with these brand kits. It's going to be absolutely game changer for them. How
Yeah.
long have you been doing this?
Well, I've been in business for a little over 10 years now. I started my first business, We Are Visual, in 2013. And it was a total, like, by accident business where I was a presentation designer. That was my jam. And my love language was PowerPoint. Yes, I know that makes me a total nerd. But basically, my jam is I made something called artistic PowerPoints. I wanted to show people that you could make a PowerPoint that wasn't an ugly, boring bullet point list of stuff. And so, dipping my toe into the branding world through presentations, it was really just an extension of the work because I would meet a lot of my clients at a place where they had no visual identity and they needed presentation. And so I had to create visual identities for my clients before I could create presentations for them because I wanted that to all tell a story and all for it to be cohesive, right? And so it turned out that almost every client I had that I would create a visual identity for and then a presentation for would be like, well, I really love what you did for me with the visual identity of my presentation. Can you help me expand that into the rest of my brand and create all these other visuals for me? And so after a few years of doing that one-on-one with clients, I came up with this idea of like, how can I scale this? And that's where Digital Brand Kit came in. So I went from presentation designer to branding expert and I just branched out, right? And then I productized all of these templates that I would create for my clients. And so that's really the story of how I went from We Are Visual back in 2013 to Digital Brand Kit, which I launched. Well, it was a brain baby in 2018 and then fully birthed in 2019. So it's about 4 or 5 years old now.
Nice. And the design background, I mean, were you just always called to design?
Yeah.
How did you find out you were good at this?
Well, I'm proud to say that I'm fully self-taught.
Love that.
I did not go to a design school and not no shade on like, graphic designers by trade or who went to school for this, but I did learn all of this on my own. I discovered my creative side while I was in business school. And I never knew I had a creative side, but in business school, we were asked to make a presentation for this school project. And I had just watched, this is kind of a funny, quick story I'll tell you that I don't share a lot on podcast interviews, but I'm going to share it with you here. Have you ever heard of SlideShare?
No, I don't well, maybe, but I don't think
Okay.
so.
Okay. So a few years ago, back in 20, this was probably 2011 or something like that, 2010. This new platform emerged. I think it was founded in India called SlideShare, and it was basically the YouTube of presentations. Okay, so it was a place where presentation designers and anybody really who made in the corporate world who made presentations about anything could go post their presentation for everyone to see. And so, of course, dabbling in presentations at school and everything, I like learned about SlideShare, and I would go there to like find inspiration for school projects. And there was this guy, I'm blanking on his name now. He was Canadian, something Dujardin, something like that. He would make these super fun, colorful PowerPoint presentations that had like these vintage black and white pictures from like the 30s paired with like super colorful neon pink and neon yellow, what are the bubbles, the speech bubbles. And I was like, oh wow, like I didn't know presentations could be fun like that. And so in college, one of my school projects, I did this really fun that I emulated his style, this really fun PowerPoint presentation. And my teacher was like, that is the best presentation I've ever seen in our class. And then all the kids in my class were like, wait, how did you do that? Show me how to do that. And I was like, oh, I'm onto something here. And so I took my love of like making these fun presentations into the corporate world after I graduated. And it was a big hit there too. In my first or actually second job out of college, I was a marketing manager for this company. And when they found out what I could do with PowerPoint, they started asking me to teach the company or other people in the company how to do it. I would make sales decks for them to like go pitch these big companies. And so I was the go-to PowerPoint girl in the company for a minute. And so, I mean, really, I it was by accident. They wanted me to actually get trained in design and learn Photoshop, and they paid for me to like take this Photoshop course. I watched 5 minutes, not even, of the first, like the introduction to Photoshop, and I was like, screw this! I am never learning Photoshop. Not happening. But I was like, but I can learn design principles. And so I just went into this course platform and learned, like, took all these design courses to learn principles of design. And then I realized that I had already, like, intuitively, I had all of these design principles in my work, And yeah, I just continued to learn, improve myself, and with practice. And one day I realized I could be the PowerPoint girl for other companies and other businesses. And that's when I set off to run my own business.
Oh, I love that. And I love self-taught because if someone's self-taught, they have a passion for it and an
Yeah.
intuitiveness
Yeah.
about the
Yeah.
skill that
Yeah.
cannot be taught. And yes, you want to fine tune the passion
The
and like
skills. Mhm.
pull to it, but like you can't really teach like that
So
piece
true.
of it. And so I love when people are self-taught and like actually don't go to school for the thing. Cause I think sometimes when you go to school, you're a little more rigid and design,
Yes.
creativity needs
Oh,
fluidity.
I could not have said it better myself. It's like people who are self-taught are tend to color outside the lines more, right?
Mhm.
And the
Mhm.
creativity that you will get from a self-taught designer, you can't often find in more classically trained, let's say, designers.
Yes, I totally agree. So I want to switch gears into the actual brand kits that you create because you're no longer just the PowerPoint girl anymore.
No.
You're like the full blown like, all right, let's like launch this here. I got the design already done for you. Let's launch this over here. Got the design done for you. Okay, so
Yeah.
tell me about, can we just define what is a digital brand kit and
Hmm.
how is it actually going to make you revenue first
Hmm.
and foremost, just so we're all on the same page?
Okay. So we are still trying to refine how do we explain this in the most simple terms possible. But here's one way that we found that explains it is what we're doing with Digital Brand Kit is we are collapsing the timeline of what it takes to go from idea to execution, right? The fastest way possible. Typically, I'll paint the picture for you. Idea to execution, the normal way. You have an idea for a campaign you want to run. First, you're going to outline it. Then you're going to draft it. Then you're going to perfect it. And once it's done, then you're going to go and find a designer. Maybe you already have a designer on hand, or maybe you don't. And now you're going to go find a designer. So we're talking days, maybe a week, maybe two. Now we found the designer. Now you have to communicate your vision to the designer of how they're going to take all these things that you outlined. What assets do you need to create? What do those assets need to look like? All right, here's a first draft. Okay, revisions, back and forth, blah, 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 blah. Draft 7, maybe we're finalized. Now we're launching. That timeline can be anywhere from, if you're lucky, 7 days to 7 weeks, depending on what it is that you're launching. Okay. We have collapsed that timeline. Why? Because our templates have the design aspect of what the designer will do for you and the strategy aspect of what you will be outlining and figuring out and deciding what assets that you need and what those assets should include in one thing. So these are strategy infused design templates, meaning idea to execution again now. So it's like, all right, my idea is I want to launch a email newsletter, okay, and a lead magnet, all right, within the next week. The process is now you're going to go and buy the email kit and the lead magnet kit. The email kit is going to have all the graphics you need to launch your email newsletter, headers, etc. So you can go in and just design, like tweak them, add your picture, add your text. It'll tell you what needs to be in there, in what order, all the things. Then you're going to your lead magnet. You're going to pick which lead magnet you want to create. That lead magnet will tell you what content to put into it and how to structure that content. You're going to build that out. And now you have your email newsletter and a lead magnet to launch within a few days. And frankly, we've had clients finish stuff in a few hours, right? And now you've skipped all of the outlining, all the copy, all the looking for a designer, all the back and forth drafts, and you can DIY or at least outsource internally to somebody on your team. And you can all do this in-house without having to like rely on outside help.
I think this is so key because I think sometimes when people think templates, and I know that you have social templates included in a few of these kits, but I think what the key here is like email marketing. It's like, is your goal this quarter email marketing? Okay, we've got a launch kit for a brand kit for that.
Mm-hmm.
Is the goal here to launch the lead magnet? We have a kit
Mm-hmm.
for that. And so it's like, yes, you've probably seen like social templates before, like
Yeah.
but you're not getting the social like
Mm-hmm.
strategy in there
Mm-hmm.
either. And a lot of times like you're not seeing templates for some of these big marketing
Oh,
projects. And
absolutely.
I mean, that was the first thing that I saw. I was like, oh my God, like this is the missing piece and link between when we're creating the visual to actually getting that visual out there on some of these other platforms, because the medium at which you're launching the visual can change depending on the marketing goal. And it's like then you need a little more support. If it's
Yeah.
not going to be social, like at least inside of our process, you need more support around email if that's the goal. You need more
Yeah.
support around the launch of the lead magnet. And
Yeah.
oh my God, like designers are so expensive. Like how you're in the design industry, how expensive are the designers typically if you wanted to go from like ideation, full on branding,
Yeah.
assets to like execution? Like what are you seeing in the market right now?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, there are two types of expensive. There is the expensive financially, and then there's the expenses of like how much they're going to run down your nervous system. And I would call that an expense as well.
Totally.
um, but on the financial side of the expense, I mean, really, there's a wide range. But here's what I like to say: great design ain't cheap, and cheap design ain't great. And cheap design is probably going to take you, if you find a cheaper freelancer, maybe on like Fiverr or something, maybe that like $7 an hour might be enticing. But guess what? It's going to take them like 74 hours to complete the project because they're not creative directors. Junior designers that are, lower price typically are not creative directors. And this is something I really want to make sure I get across here. It's so important. I don't think a lot of people understand just how important creative direction is before design.
Mhm.
Okay. And what does that mean? When you are going to hire a designer to do something for you, you need to understand that if that designer is not a creative director, they are going to expect you to give them a very clear vision of what it is that you're looking for. And if you don't have a vision, or you're not able to communicate that vision in a very clear, tangible way that they can, apply, then this person is now going to either copy the last project they did for someone else because it's already done and they already came up with some sort of, design there, and they're just going to paste it on your design, or they're going to do whatever they think looks pretty or nice, right? But that may not jive with what you have in mind. So that's one of the biggest complaints that I've heard from people who have hired these lower price designers is, oh my gosh, I told them I wanted this and I got this thing back and it looked nothing like what I was wanting in my mind. You know what I mean? And that's because you were not able to communicate your vision to them. That's creative direction. Now, if you don't want to have to do creative direction with a designer, then you need to hire a more expensive designer who is also a creative director. But now we're talking like double, triple, like 10 times, if I were being honest. And
Mhm.
now we're talking $100 an hour designer, boutique designer, who's going to, I mean, it's like luxury. It's a luxury kind of experience where you go to the designer and you say, I need this. And they go, I got you. I know exactly what we need to do here. And they can just take all of that off your hands. And then they produce these beautiful visuals to you. And you go, yes, I love it. That type of experience is going to cost you money, but it's also going to take time.
The one thing I just want to butt in here, because the one thing about that though is like it's harder to test through that process. So if
Mm.
you're like, I have an idea I want to implement now, or if you're in like the WorkPlay method where it's like every single quarter, what are we like? Our members are moving fast. So
Yes.
it's like we don't have time to wait even like 6 weeks for a
Yeah.
design to come back, and then the revision process, like,
Yeah.
we're ready to go now, we've got our visuals, we're ready to launch because the
Yes.
next quarter is gonna roll around,
Yep.
and we don't wanna be sitting. I'm speaking on behalf of members. We don't wanna be sitting, like, on our visuals for that long, waiting for the
Oh my
perfect,
gosh. Yes.
design and boutique design, because we all know it's like speed is kind of the name of the game
Thank
when it
you.
comes
I
to
was going to say those
launching.
exact words. Speed
Yeah,
is
and
the name of the game.
you
Yes.
have to be able to tweak, and like
Yes.
you like to tweak a whole like, offer branded thing is like that takes a lot of time and a
Oh my
lot of,
gosh. It
and then
does.
it's
And
done. And then
we
it's done.
exactly. Exactly. I like, look, I want to say right off the bat, one of our core philosophies as a company is we are anti-tweaking. That sounded terrible.
I love that.
We're not into tweakers, okay? So, our whole philosophy is branding is fun. Branding should be fun. Branding should make you feel good and confident and unique and colorful. But you are not in the business of being cute and unique and colorful. You're in the business of making money. You gotta get out there and launch things and sell things and do things. So you need to be in action mode. Too many entrepreneurs, I think, find a little bit of cozy comfort in the let's mess a little bit with the branding. Let's change this, font. Let's try these colors, right? And, if you have the luxury of time and a full bank account, then tweak away. But if you're in the business of making money, especially as an early stage entrepreneur, early stage founder, which is who we serve mostly, you're in the business of like, I need to get this done quickly. Don't mess around with your visuals. Don't mess around with fonts and colors. This is not the time to do that. Focus on, creating really awesome conversion oriented copy, popping that into your templates, get some really pretty photos, pop them in there, launch the thing. And so that's why our whole ecosystem, digital blankets ecosystem, I already said how we have 14 kits. And just to say and name a few, it's like there's a blog kit, an email kit, a website kit, a social kit, speaker kit, media kit, podcast kit, all of the different touch points of all the things that you might need in your business. So that's like one layer of like our different products, but each of those kits is declined in 12 different collections, design collections, meaning 12 different, completely different visual vibes, okay, that are organized in 4 brand seasons: spring season, summer, fall, winter. Why did we do this way? So that we can match you with the right visual identity for you, one of 12, very quickly. We will tweak your color palette if you need that through our color consultation process, give you a unique color palette, pop it into this pre-existing template, off you go. Put your pictures into it. Don't mess with fonts. Don't mess with colors. Don't mess with the design. Just go and launch and make money.
I love this. I love this so much because, like I said, you're sitting here tweaking the design and someone's already like 100 miles ahead of
Ahead
you,
of
right?
you.
And so when
Yes.
you have that, this is this is so interesting because as workplay branding evolves and as we see the landscape evolve inside of like visuals when it comes to photo and video, people are more so going into a campaign body of work, meaning, okay, I have
Mm,
this idea and I want to create a very specific look for this idea and campaign for this season. And so
mm,
it's interesting as you're chatting through with me on this is like, okay, let's say a workplay member has an idea for a campaign and it's like this Parisian vibe. We're off to Paris and like we're having baguettes and croissants and whatever it is.
yeah.
And like that's the whole image visual vision for that campaign. It's
Yeah.
interesting because they could just purchase like a very specific brand kit for whatever the goal is, like email
Yes.
marketing. And it's like, oh, actually, this kit is a little more aligned with this specific campaign.
Oh, I love that. 1000%. Because now you have 12 collections to choose from, 12 different visual vibes. So that's 12 different campaigns that you could do if you wanted to have each one have like a completely, or you could honestly, there's so much power in color, Lyric, that you could take
Mm.
the same collection but infuse different color palette into it, and maybe change one font, which would be just one click of a button, and it would be a completely different, visual identity look. And so, you could really squeeze some mileage out of one collection and one brand kit.
Yeah, no, that's actually very interesting because I think the visual aesthetic can also really help change the overall vibe. So you wouldn't even have to purchase another one. You could
No.
just like it's like the visual, the image or the video that you're
Yeah.
using can really from
Yeah.
editing tone wise, we can really craft maybe like a retro 1970s look, for you and then just
1000%.
change the palette and it's like okay, we got
Yeah.
that done. That's done.
And I will add to that. I think this is something very important for people to know is um, 90% of your visual identity and the energy of your visual identity actually comes from your brand colors and your brand colors and your images. Okay. Only like 10% of that is like fonts and layouts and things like that, shapes and things like that. But really, the imagery and the colors are the most powerful visual elements that we're going to set the tone of what your visual identity is going to feel like for people. This is why we are so obsessed with color palettes and why we have entire services around getting people custom color palettes. And we have, if we can talk about it for a second, our
Yeah,
color
let's do it.
cards. Yeah, the color card system, right? What are the color cards? So I came up with this consultation called the color consultation. It's a 90-minute consultation. And the idea is we're going to take you from, I have no idea what my brand colors should be, to, oh my God, I love my brand colors in 90 minutes. But not only are you going to love your brand colors in 90 minutes, but you're also going to know exactly why those colors are right for you.
Mhm.
Okay. Because colors is a place where so many people get hung up. Whether it's choosing colors for your brand identity, like visual identity, at large, or choosing for like a specific campaign that you want to run, they get hung up on colors. And I discovered after months of exploring why that was happening. And that's because we all have emotional attachments and preconceptions about colors. Colors evoke emotions in all of us. And so, you can ask somebody like, what's your favorite color? Or what color do you hate? And they have an answer to that, right? We have emotional responses to colors, or like maybe it's like this, person that you don't particularly like. Their branding has that color in it, and you're just tired of seeing that color because you don't like that person. You see, so if you're now having to choose your colors based on your emotions and your personal preference and it's all of these factors that are coming in that are clouding your judgment, and most importantly, they are not rooted in the truth of your brand, of the energy that you're trying to create around your brand. So the color cards is a system, and I will explain how it works in a sec, but it's a system where we remove that whole layer of, all that muckiness and all of that confusion. We remove all of that. How? Because we replace the colors with words.
Mm.
And so I guide our clients through a process where we have them choose their brand words. What words, what emotions, what energies do you want people to feel when they interact with your brand? And that's how we figure out your colors. So the color cards are basically 12 cards, but all you can see are the words on the cards. There are 6 words on every card, but they're all black and white. There's no color on them. And we go through this process of elimination where we're going to take those 12 cards and narrow it down to your top 3. And of those top 3, we're going to decide your top 1 signature color, your primary. And once you have made all of those selections without knowing what colors are hidden behind, just by choosing the words, and it's a whole like guided exercise there. Then we reveal. Then you find out what your colors are. But here's the magic of this. First of all, once you have, because every time somebody eliminates a color or chooses a color, they have to justify why they chose those words. When you find out the colors behind them, now you can't back up and be like, oh, but I don't like that color. Yeah, but that color has all of the symbolic meaning that you want your brand to have. That's why that color is right for you. And what I have found after doing this a few times is that people walk away from this process not only loving the color palette that we built for them because it's unique to them and there's that, like cozy feeling of like, oh, that's me, but also they walk away with this like unshakable conviction of why those are the right colors for them. And then they don't tweak anymore. They're like, that's it. I'm done tweaking. This is it. I trust the process. I trust that these are the right colors for me or for this campaign, and I can move forward to the next step.
Yeah, I love that so much. It's like it's rooted in the values, and so it's really hard to shake those values. I love
Yes.
that. And it's so interesting, this idea around like the color theories, because with WorkPlay, as we're creating different visual marketing campaigns on like the image and video side of things, it's interesting because people want, they want something cohesive, but we always tell people sometimes like if you can go all in maybe on one color for one campaign, it's going to attract one like
Mhm.
a very specific type of person, right? Because colors are evoking these types of emotions, and we always go at the visual from an emotional standpoint,
Yes. Yes.
storyline standpoint.
Yes.
And so it's interesting when you change the campaign, or maybe you focus in on a different color in your palette, and that's the more dominant one for that campaign the next quarter, you're going to attract a different type of person. And
Yeah.
it's interesting, like the parallels between all of this, because it's almost like the science behind it. I think
Yeah.
people are so they're they don't realize how important these things are because we live in such a visual
Oh,
landscape right now,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I know that we've kind of like touched on all of these things, but when you talk about the strategy piece of these, can you dive a little bit deeper into that? Like, if someone's wanting to launch their lead magnet, what is the strategy that they're getting with their kits now that they have their visuals, for this campaign around the lead magnet? Like, they've got the template. Where's
Yeah.
the strategy piece coming in now?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that's a great question. Um, so, for example, the lead magnet kit. That's a good example. The other one that is super strategy infused is the speaker kit, and maybe we can talk
Mhm.
about it after.
Yeah, let's actually do that. There's so many speakers who listen
Okay.
to this with us.
Okay, awesome. So let's talk about the speaker kit. So, what does the speaker kit contain? Here's layer one of strategy. It's already going to tell you what assets you need. Which I don't know if people realize it right, right off the bat, but knowing what you don't know is already that first layer of value. We're telling you, oh, you want to launch a speaking business? Here's what you need. You need a speaker press kit to pitch yourself for speaking gigs. You need speaker slides, obviously. You're going to need a speaker agreement, preferably beautifully branded, but also with all of the important things I need to be covering there. You're going to need some social graphics to promote upcoming speaking things or past speaking opportunities that you've had to showcase yourself as a speaker. You're going to need all of these things. You're going to need a speaker, not real, sorry, a speaker writer, which by the way, I did not know what a speaker writer was, even though I worked with speakers for years. But here's the magic. You know who told us that we needed to include a speaker writer in our templates? One of our clients.
Mm.
And by the way, we are very much, we have a very powerful feedback loop with our clients. Every single one of our kits is constantly being improved by suggestions of our clients telling us, oh, I love this, but you know what would be great? It would be great if I could have a template for this. And we're like, noted. And then if we have enough people voting for that, like SaaS companies do, vote for this feature, we will create a template for that. So our clients are telling us what they need, and then we're telling them, oh, by the way, here's another thing that you might need. So what is a speaker writer? It's basically once you become super, professional and you're doing the $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 speaking gigs, you have this one sheet that has all of your audiovisual requirements, all of the details about like where your slides are going to be, et cetera, like all these requirements that you need to have, and that's a speaker writer. So we're already layer one telling you what you need to have.
And
Then,
I just
yes,
want to say this, like this is why like purchasing the brand kit before you're making the visual marketing campaign with WorkPlay is actually really important because you're like the kit is going to tell you going
yes,
into your creative direction call with WorkPlay like, hey, I already know baseline, here's my speaker kit, this shot, we need to
oh,
include these
yes,
shots. And it's
yes.
actually helping your your WorkPlay creative director be like, all right, let's creative direct for these shots. So I just
There you
wanted to
go.
put that in
No,
there
no,
because if anyone was like thinking about, oh, this is something I purchased after, it's actually something you purchased before if you're
thank
ultra
you.
prepared.
There, that was such a great addition right here because that's layer two, which is you're going to figure out based on the templates that we give you what pictures and what content you need to create, right? What pictures, so like what poses do you need? So it looks like, okay, for my speaker kit, I'm going to need a cover. I have a cover page. All right, on this cover page, and we're giving you like 5 different cover page examples with 5 different photos. We are thinking about, we are suggesting to you, here's what we suggest your cover photo look like. Okay. And then you can take that as inspiration for your photo shoot. Here's what we suggest your about page pictures look like. Take that as inspiration for your photo shoot. Also, here's layer three, copy. All of our templates are copy infused. There ain't no lorem ipsum in there. I swear. I am anti lorem
So
ipsum. What?
it's so helpful not to have the filler text in there.
Oh, that color text. That's one of my pet peeves. It's like, and I don't want to hate on the Etsy template creators, but can you please put some copy in there? Laura Mimsa is just so, it's very hard to project yourself and your work and your copy into a template when it's this like filler text. And so the other layer of strategy that we infuse in our templates is before we create a template, we actually create a copy wireframe for it with a mock person. We create this like fake character identity avatar, we call them, Our favorite avatar is Jamie Parker. If you look at our templates, you'll see a lot of Jamie Parkers. I don't know
I
why
love
I came up with Jamie Parker. She's my boo.
that.
Anyway, so Jamie Parker, sometimes she is a speaking coach, sometimes she is a nutrition consultant, whatever it is. But Jamie Parker is going to have a story. And so we're going to design this whole template based on her needs. So the titles will look like real titles and will be suggestive of what your title should be structured like. There will be an actual introduction section, which a lot of like the intros and the outros in our templates are like almost all you have to do is change a couple of words in them, and you can almost leave the copy as is, and the copy's done for you, right? And then it'll tell you like the about me section for Jamie Parker. Here's how you should tell your story of who you are and introduce yourself. Look at how we're introducing Jamie here. Just use this structure of the copy, follow it, and use the same thing. You don't even have to hire a copywriter. You're welcome.
Honestly, you guys, like AI, what I would do
Oh,
is I would
ChatGPT
say,
all
oh
day.
my God, all day. What I would do is I would say, I would tell ChatGPT about your brand
Yep.
and like put in key points like pain points, desires of your audience, put in like your bio, put in like your thing, and then just copy and paste
Yep.
what Nadine's brand kit has in there and say, ChatGPT, put it in this format at this
Yes.
length
Oh,
and it will do it for you and then keep the structure of the copy that you already
yes,
have
and the
on
length
there.
of the copy. The
Yeah,
length of the copy, which is super important
yeah,
because if you know exactly how much copy you can fit into that section, you can just transpose the same amount of copy into it, and then you don't have to mess with the design of like, oh no, the text box
yep,
doesn't fit anymore. It fits. Boom.
yep. It's so easy. It's so easy. But you can't do that with a template that has the filler text on it because ChatGPT wants to see like tone and how the sentence structure is.
Yep. How many
You will get a
paragraphs? Mm,
better yeah, you'll get a better result if the copy has been actually thought through, which it
yes,
has been on
it
these
has. Yeah.
templates.
So to continue and finish on the speaker kit, the speaker press kit itself, for example, that's probably our highest value asset in the speaker kit,
Yeah.
besides the speaker slides, because it will tell you, it will have all the pages of all the content that you need to make sure you include in a speaker kit. What are event planners looking for? Right? What information do they need? What do they need to know about you? What can you include in your speaker kit to impress them? Right? We've thought about all that. I've worked with so many speakers, so I have a lot of experience. I've infused my personal experience with what I know my highest paid speaking clients, what they include in their speaker kits, and I put that in there. And so this speaker kit template is actually reverse engineered from some of my, custom work that I've done for private clients with We Are Visual.
I love that so, so much. And I think it's very clear like these aren't just templates. And I
Yeah.
want to double down on that because yes, it's a template in terms of like this is going to be so easy to plug, play, take action, go, but it's so strategized. And
Yeah.
that's why this is going to like as you're doing your WorkPlay campaigns, like it's such an essential piece of that
Yeah.
of understanding okay what the goal is. And I think so many entrepreneurs that we've seen come into the WorkPlay process and like they're scattered, right? And so when you come into our process, it's like, what is your goal? And it's like if you don't have a goal, I feel like these brand kits are going to be perfect for you because you get to just pick. It's like, all right, let's focus on
Mm.
season this quarter. And then you have now a very clear strategy. You have a very clear shot list. And then
And the
from
game
a
plan.
work yeah, from a WorkPlay branding perspective, you're just working with your creative director and content creator on like the creative direction of the visuals that will go on to that, but everything else is already done. So
Ah,
I think it's so, so, so powerful.
love that.
Love it. Okay, cool. So these are all going to be infused into the method. I'm telling you guys, this was no joke for us that we wanted to make sure you guys could get your hands on it ASAP. So these brand kits are actually going to be infused into your creative direction calls. It's going to be something that keeps popping up on your creative direction calls as you're thinking about the visual. So if you're not like someone who's like, oh, I totally forgot to, purchase the speaker kit, don't worry. We're going to be helping you on like, okay, this is when you need to purchase the brand kit before your creative direction call. Your creative directors are going to understand all of these kits inside and out for you as well. So it's going to be so, so good.
Love
Um,
it.
as far as getting to know you, connecting with you, Nadine, where can all of our WorkPlay members see you, connect with you, follow you, all of
Yeah. Well, come hang out with me on Instagram at Nadine.Hanafi, Nadine dot Hanafi. I'm sure you'll have that somewhere in the show notes. We're also at Digital Brand Kit on Instagram. And then digitalbrandkit.com is our home for all of our templates if you want to go check that out. And yeah, that's how to connect with me.
I'm so excited. This is going to be so game changer for
Oh,
anyone creating visual marketing campaigns.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited we had this conversation. I'm so excited to meet your members and help them come up with these beautiful visual identities. So,
I love it. Thanks, Nadine.
thank you.